Welcome to Concordia College. We're always so happy to see members of the community and our students come together on campus for our books and coffee series, as well as all the other activities that we have. Having someone of our author and speaker's stature opening up his personal insights and experience and wisdom with us tonight is a really special thing for us. We value it, and we value your presence, and thank you for coming. It's a good example of how our small college makes a big impact for all of us, the students and community as well. First, I want to tell you just a little bit about our speaker's career. For those of you who don't know him, so you can see how well qualified Brian Fetherstonhaugh is to actually share his experiences with us, and we're so glad that he's with us tonight to share his critically acclaimed, and I do mean critically acclaimed, when the New York Times really jumps on something that's pretty special, The Long View. Regardless of your stage in life, it really gets you to stop and think about what you've done, how to capitalize on that, and what you want to do next. Brian is the CEO of OgilvyOne, worldwide, a digital marketing company and leader of 5,000 employees, whose client list reads like a who's who in top brands, including Coca-Cola, American Express, IBM, and more. It's pretty exciting. He has mentored thousands. Who can say that? He has mentored thousands of individuals in their careers. And he looks at them regardless of what stage they're in, and looks at the trajectories of their careers so that he can see where they go from where. And that's exciting too, because he's learned a lot. Over the past 2 decades, Brian has become a respected career mentor. In fact, he's lectured at Harvard, MIT, Yale, Columbia, among others. And he's as Ogilvy's executive sponsor of their, which I find very progressive, their Young Professional Network. He's also an advisor to several startups, which I don't know how he has the time to do all this. And he's been a member, pardon me, of the board of Goodwill Industries for over 20 years. Pardon me. Now the man. Brian was born in Montreal, Canada. He now lives in Bronxville. We're happy to claim him as a local villager with his charming wife, Chris, where they almost raised their 2 daughters. Besides being an easygoing, smart, and very affable guy, I've really always personally admired him for the balance that he's had in his life of family, friends, fun, church, volunteer, community, and of course, work. Probably the reason is for his being so stable in his very own successful career is this balance. Brian not only plays hockey on weekends, but he plays guitar and harmonica. I think this is why he's really my hero, in a rock band, okay? He's just a really interesting, all-around, fun guy to get to know. To meet Brian is to instantly like Brian. So please welcome our speaker, author, and my friend, Brian Fetherstonhaugh.
Wow. Well, thank you, Jim. It's fantastic to be here. I've never heard an introduction quite like that before, and may never hear one again. Jim was also progressing my slides. If you'd like to do the full presentation, that would be fantastic. But it is great to be here to talk about a subject that I am deeply passionate about, which is the combination of career and strategy. And we don't actually often find these 2 words together. Lots of people have careers, lots of people do strategies, but there is a gap in the world. Not enough people are thinking about how to put those 2 things together. As Jim slightly highlighted, this is the fuller view of my actual career. I've been a gardener, a snow shoveler, a caddy, a dog sitter, baseball umpire, statistics tutor, bartender, whiskey barrel salesman. That was the liquor phase of my life. College lecturer, president of a student-run company, brand manager, lots of advertising, CEO, and the one I'm most proud of is professional harmonica player. Some of the people here are also in the mighty Plan B and will appreciate that it's not really a lucrative thing. The entire business model is built around when we perform, we hope to make enough money for guitar picks and parking tickets. So it has been a long and varied thing, but have accumulated some interesting experiences along the way. The other side is just my own career life. I figure I've spent 100,000 hours working since part-time jobs at the age of 13 up until currently. As a CEO, I've been CEO of a wonderful company, a part of the Ogilvy Communications Group. Over half of every single dollar that we've ever earned in that company goes to talent. So it's enlightened self-interest to make sure that I understand the talent equation. The median age in our company is 30 years old, so a lot of the unbelievable changes that are going on in the world and affecting the millennial population are very acutely felt by me and my colleagues as we run the company. And as part of the research for the book, we did commission research among 15,000 working people in 23 countries. So when I put it all together, here's the big, stunning conclusion, what I think about careers. And that's that most people have the wrong career strategy. And I'll tell you a bit why. It's resulted in rampant career anxiety. And you think about it when you talk to people, a lot of people are worried, a little bit to a lot worried about their careers. And it's true. I asked some 24-year-olds in our own company to describe in a video format how they saw first day on the job for a millennial entering the workforce today. They call it first day of work, and here's how it goes.
All right, so this is it. I'm getting a paycheck. I'm an adult. What first? I'm so lost. Do I need a mentor? Focus, dude. God, someone's calling. Who is it? My boss? Wait, that's HR. Am I fired? How am I gonna become a CEO one day? Oh my god, no, I'm 24. I got a 3.9 GPA. My mom says I'm special. So talented. I have a double major. I speak French, German, Japanese, and Swedish. I'm a snowflake!
So the first day on your job is stressful, but the great news is it never stops. At age 27, people like Zach have concerns like, how do I get promoted around here? Am I in the right place, either the right company or the right industry? Is it time for a master's degree? And then we carry on. Maybe at age 39, people like Denise are wondering, have I maxed out? Is this all there is? I hear that comment all the time. People in their late 30s and early 40s. How do I balance home and work? And how do I avoid burnout? And the great news is, even for late stage boomers, say like Barack, whoops, back one. Yes, I did it too. It's a little jumpy today. Late stage boomers ask questions like, when should I retire? Will I outlive my money? And oh my God, do I need to work another 15 years? So at every age and stage along the way, people are concerned, and I think most acutely, it is felt among the millennial population. This is one slide from the work that we did, the research we did among 20 to 37-year-olds. And there's a whole series of concerns. This is asking that population around the world, what are they most concerned about? And getting and staying married is one of the top 10. Staying up to date with global news, having regular contact with family, taking care of aging parents. I was delighted to see that one making the top 10. There's a pressure to look good all the time. Also to be health conscious. But look at the top 4. All of the top 4 principal concerns, the places that people feel most pressure in the millennial age group are career related. And the number 1 is, how do I have a good job and a good career? So people who think millennials don't care about careers are dead wrong. They're desperately concerned about them. And that was the reason that I wrote the book. Whether it's for the millennial age group, mid-career people, or people later in life, there's all of this anxiety. And just worrying about it is not going to get us the results we're looking for. We need to do something about it. And that was the principle behind the long view. I'm going to start with some career math. The first thing people need to do for their career strategy is to get into the right framework. So these are actual math questions. And you're going to have to scribble down or remember or go on your smartphone and put some questions down. I normally do this for people who are in their 20s, so don't be alarmed if you get some funny answers. Take the number 62 and deduct your current age. Even if it's a negative number, don't be alarmed. Just park that answer for a moment. Take the number 62 and deduct your current age. Guess, question number 2, what percentage of your personal wealth, your net worth, do you believe that the average American accumulates after their 40th birthday? Is that 10%, 30%, 70%, something else? What percent of personal net worth do you think you accumulate after your 40th birthday? Just guess. 100%. There's one answer for 100%. I'll come back to these. How many hours do you believe it takes to become truly excellent at something? It's a well-published number from Malcolm Gladwell. Write down your answer, keep it in your head. Question number 4, the most difficult math question for some people. Approximately, what is the sum of your Facebook friends and LinkedIn connections? Is it 100, 500? I know someone who's in the thousands. And final question, when you pack it all in at the end of the day, how many people do you think you will meet in career heaven? Just guess. Let's go back. When you take the number 62 and deduct your current age, again, this is principally for people at their beginnings of their careers, that is the number of years left until early retirement. And I do a lot of audiences with people in their 20s, and it's 38 years and 32 years and 34 years, and there's a palpable gasp in the room. And the other trick is nobody retires at 62. The average age in America is 65, and it's going up. People need to expect to work into their 60s and 70s and soon enough into their 80s. They will work or want to work for 40, 45, 50 years and more. Gasp. Point number 1. Point number 2, approximately what percentage of your personal wealth should you expect to accumulate after your 40th birthday? Any guesses? 80. 80, 90, the wisest answers ever. Most people, especially young people, guess about 30. They think that careers are over at 40, and they think you only make a little bit of money, like some old age pension for your Alpo dinner. It's the real answer is 88.5%. 88.5% of the median net worth in America is accumulated after the age of 40. The relevance of that is, question number 1, it's a long time that a career needs to last. Question number 2, it's back-end loaded. First of all, you have more years of career after your 40th birthday than before, right? What do you have before? 18 years or so of career years, and they tend to be the smaller ones. Plus you have the power of compound interest, et cetera, et cetera. All the money's in the second half. How many hours does it take to become truly excellent at something? 10,000 is the most popular number, and that's from Malcolm Gladwell in his book, The Outliers, where he studied people who were gifted but also ended up doing fantastic things. The relevance of 10,000 hours is basically it's doing something every day, every working day for 5 years. So when somebody comes to me and says, I did the assignment for 4 months, mastered that, what's next for me? I say, you probably need to chill and think a little bit more about longer chapters, a little bit bigger chapters where you can accumulate some wisdom and mastery, but it takes some time. You need to invest some time. Question number 4, how many people has at least 500 Facebook friends and LinkedIn connections? Anybody here? 1,000? 2,000? Greg, you're gonna max out here? So let's just hold that number. We have people with 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. What about the answer to the last question, number 5, just for comparison? When people stand at podiums like this and go, thank you for coming to my retirement dinner. It's been a long and wonderful journey. Here's what they do not say. And you know what? I would like to thank my 1,536 LinkedIn connections. They never say that, but you know what they do? They say, you know what? There's 2 people who totally made a difference to my life. There's 3 people. There's 4 people. It's always a number you can count on the fingers of one hand. So the final point in mindset for career strategy, it's a long ride, 40, 45, 50 plus years. All the money's in the second half. It takes 10,000 hours to master something. You need lots of social currency and contacts, but it's not a volume game, it's a quality game. Those are some of the fundamental principles of getting in the right mood for strategy. The other big observation is that you can break careers, these big 45-year plus adventures, into 3 major stages. Stage 1 has a different strategy. The idea, the ambition is to start strong, and the whole objective of stage 1 is discovery and fuel building, which I'll describe more in a moment. If you end up stage 1 with lots of discovery and lots of fuel on board, you're winning. You're doing great, because you positioned yourself for stage 2, which is really the stage where you find your sweet spot. You find what you're great at, and you begin to differentiate yourself and really find what you're put into the work world to do. And stage number 3, for many of us, it's not going to be that one retirement day. It's going to be an entire phase, perhaps an immensely long and gratifying, rewarding, and rich phase of our lives and of our work lives. And the idea is to go far, to pass the torch maybe on some of the skills that you have, and to light a new one for yourself, to find new purpose. For those who are just getting into the game, and it's great to see some people who are at early stages of their career, there's a chapter in the book, a section in the book on how to get into the game. It's extremely difficult. I'm very empathetic and sympathetic to people who are starting into the work world today. There's more choices than ever before. Corporate, entrepreneurial, startup, inside, outside, do your own thing. There's also intense competition from outside. I did not compete with people from Singapore, Bangalore, and Kiev when I started work. You do. It's different. It's hard, and I'm very sympathetic. A few pieces of advice. Number 1, as you're trying to get into the game, you need a job search battle plan. What I mean by that, it's not done on instinct and hunch, it's done by spreadsheet. You actually need a spreadsheet that documents some target kind of companies, some people in those companies, whether you've spoken to them, your follow-up messaging. It's actually a spreadsheet battle plan exercise. And there's some tips in the book on that. Number 2, use every single connection you have to fill out that spreadsheet and get personal contacts. Companies don't give you jobs, people give you jobs. Companies send you into their online application process into cyber oblivion. It sucks. Response rates are terrible. It's immensely frustrating. Find a connection. And one of the methods is to use LinkedIn. Your alumni connections, like here at Concordia, is a fantastic way. If you've got a connection through your alumni network, say, write a little email to them. Hello, I'm just wrapping up here at Concordia. Could I spend 15 minutes talking about this industry that you're in, because I'm really interested in it and it's a target for my job search? Would you spend 15 minutes with me on the phone this week? Goodbye. You don't have to tell a big long story about the immense contributions you made as a camp counselor. You don't have to talk about your babysitting adventures, the lemonade stand. Just reach out to a person where there's a bit of a connection. Ask for an easy, urgent, a little something, and that's your best shot. Despite that, if you make that connection, you must do your homework. If you're going to meet Jim or an executive or a person that you've made a connection with, it is inexcusable to go ill-prepared. In a world of LinkedIn, in a world of Wikipedia, you cannot go into any of those conversations, even if it's an informational interview. There are no informational interviews. Every single connection is an evaluation where the person on the other side is judging whether to stick their neck out for you or not. I've had many conversations at Slave to the Grind, and within the first 15 seconds, I know if I'm going to recommend the person. Here's something deadly. They show up without their CV and without a pencil and paper. They're dead. I have a cup of coffee, and that's it. If someone comes to me and pulls out, here's a copy of the CV, I noticed in your thing, Brian, you were talking about blah, blah, blah. I have a question about that. Now we're talking. Maybe this is a person I will go back to my company, spend some capital in a sense, and put them at the top of the list, make a recommendation. But you have to use your connections, you have to do your homework. Expect rejection. If you are wildly successful with your battle plan, use every connection, you will achieve a 98% rejection rate. Get ready, get over it. Every single person, the wisest, it is way worse than college. Expect 98% rejection. It's not you. If people don't respond to your genius, brief, crisp emails, it's often because they're busy. I recommend one crisp follow-up and then move on. Maybe they're not interested, often they're just too busy. Give it a shot and move on. It's not because they hate you, it's not because you're bad. It's because they're busy or they have other things on their mind. And the final thing in getting into the game is use those early stages for discovery. It's, I got a contract position, there's some internship, the pay is lousy, I got to commute. Do it. Here's where you do not learn much: on the couch. You don't learn enough on the couch. So get off the couch. Even for a lousy sounding job, you are not going to find the magic job of your dreams. If you make a commitment, you're not making a commitment for the rest of your 45 years. You could be making a commitment for 0.05% of your career to try that thing in sales. Try it. Here's some fantastic learning. I hate sales. Wouldn't that be great to know in the first 2 years of your career? I hate office jobs in big companies. Valuable. I love the working outdoors part, but not the working, you get the picture. So use it for discovery. That's fantastic early career process. The other big thing I mentioned in this early first stage, throughout your life, but most specifically in stage 1, is building career fuel. And literally, as I look back with these observations and seeing CEOs and successful executives and consultants and advisors and leaders, the thing that distinguishes the ones who have really successful and long and fruitful careers and those who have less successful and happy ones is career fuel. The successful people have abundant supplies of career fuel, and it comes in 3 forms. It comes in the form of transportable skills, it comes in the form of meaningful experiences, and it comes in the form of enduring relationships. Let me talk about them quickly. Fuel number 1 is this notion of transportable skills. Not just all the skills you have. You can learn jargon at one company. You can learn how to do expense reports or project management with their special software. That's okay. Here's what's great. What if you learn to be a persuasive communicator? That you can use every day for the rest of your life. Wouldn't that be great to be really good at that? And in today's world, it's not so much about writing long memos. Can you communicate in video? Could you do a video? If you're 25 years old, could you do a video that will get 10,000 views with your clothes on? Could you post an article, maybe on LinkedIn or somewhere, and get 500 views or shares or likes. Those are evidence of persuasive communication. Can you walk into a room with people you don't know and move them from their current position to a position that you are advocating? Can you do that? If you have that skill, fantastic fuel for the rest of your life. Emotional intelligence, the ability to read emotions in others, respond to it, immensely, immensely valuable for the rest of your life. Can you get things done? This is a life skill. Not get close to it, not move it along. Close, get it done, complete, check box. Fantastic skill. I see people in our company and in the industry, there's those who do it and those who don't quite get it done. Giving and asking for help. What an incredible transportable skill. None of us know all the answers. Totally impossible. Especially you get into a global situation, it's utterly impossible to know. In my business, I have to know 3,976 marketing technology platforms. Guess what? I don't know them all. But I know how to ask. I know who to ask. And what an incredible skill in the new world where you need to learn how to ask for help and give it back so that you're a person that they go to as well. Are you a talent magnet? As you rise up through the organization, later stages of you're going to hire a lot more people. If you were put up on eBay, who would bid for the privilege of working with you? Everybody? Nobody? An assignment comes up. I'm going to work with Bill on this assignment. They go, do they run away screaming? Or do they say, I want to work with Bill? Fantastic. Talent magnet. You can become one. An incredible skill over time. And finally, especially in this more entrepreneurial global world, are you learning to be a great risk taker? Who's teaching you? Do you have a mentor? That's a real human long-term skill. Not just the algorithm tells me this or the exit polls told me this. Do you not interpret and apply risk factors to that? It's a very human thing. Take it with you for the rest of your life. Fuel number 2 is meaningful experiences, and the main relevance of meaningful experiences, if you can take them on, they insulate you against becoming fragile in an uncertain world. There's a danger you will become a one-trick pony. When you have 45 years ahead of you, and companies and industries are vaporizing and being disruptive, it's not a great idea to be a one-trick pony. You want to have like hybrid vigor. You want to be robust. You want to be able to power through uncertainty. Meaningful experiences are a great way. They're things that take you outside your comfort zone. They're things that make you feel flop sweat, that really push you and stretch you into new areas. They are opportunities to fail. So in your first 5, 10, 15 years of your career, do lots of these things, like launch a product, or host an event, or stand up in front of people, go on stage, put yourself out there, go to a new market. If you've been in the big city, go to a little city. You've been in a little city, go to a big city, go to a big market. Go to Shanghai. That will give you meaningful long-term insulation against uncertainty. Fuel number 3 is perhaps the most powerful career fuel. And again, I urge people throughout their careers, especially early on, take on this form of career fuel. It's the people who make a decisive difference in your career development. And again, it's not just the LinkedIn connections, it's what I refer to as your entire career ecosystem. And at the bottom, there's a base which is lots and lots of connections. The people in your email directory, the people who are on Facebook, the people, that's great, that's not enough. The next level up is what I call your community of experts. When you have a tough question, who do you ask? You have a tough financial question, who do you ask? You have a tough question about China or retail or politics or marketing or brand, who do you talk to? You need this layer, community of experts. In my life, I might have 100 of them right now. A couple of them are in this room. They amplify your power and your ability to get things done. They give you better answers. So you need that layer. You accumulate them over time. Next layer up is critical colleagues. This could be about 10 people in your current situation who make the total difference of whether you succeed or fail. Number one is always the boss. Always, number one factor. What are the other factors? What about the boss's boss? I keep telling people in their 20s and 30s, what does the boss's boss think of you? I don't know, just met him once in the elevator, spilled some turkey chili on him. It's like, so what do you think that boss's boss thinks of you? Because I guarantee you, you will not get a raise or a promotion from your boss unless the boss's boss signs off. So if you think you have a negative or a lukewarm, neutral relationship with your boss's boss, do something about it. Earn some visible recognition, do some work that they may see, because the boss's boss controls whether you get promoted or a raise, which is pretty important. Other people, your peers, maybe your clients or customers, some people who work with, there's probably about 10 people. And I just ask people, size up those top 10 relationships, your critical colleagues. Where do you stand? And if it's neutral, make it positive. If it's positive, go for it. And if it's negative, fix it. Next one up are these champions. These are the people you meet in career heaven. Everybody has them. People just finishing up school have them. I've got them. One was an Armenian entrepreneur out of Montreal. Another one was Shelley Lazarus, fantastic CEO and board member and business leader. People in their 20s have them. Who's the person who recommended you for college? Who's that person? Somebody out there is in your corner. They took a weekend day, they were busy, they wrote a recommendation about you. And I asked them, what have you done since you graduated? You ever talked to them? You ever said, hey, I'm loving math and I'm hating computer science, I'm loving marketing, but too bad about the philosophy? What are you telling them? All they want is a little bit of nourishment and encouragement and appreciation, mentor for life. And so these are the kind of people and relationships that we accumulate over time. I encourage people to put their antennae up and listen for them. Some people just like you and they're in your corner and they're incredibly valuable. And if you leave a company, sometimes you'll lose them. And you need to remember that before you leave the company and find some new ones as you move on. So again, the way to do it, you can't recruit them, but if you get a little wiggle of interest, make sure it's a two-way street. Let them know how you're doing. Let them know that you appreciate it. I encourage people to do periodic career health checks. And there's 4 big questions. I encourage people to take like a day off, personal Labor Day almost, once a year. Ask yourself 4 questions. Look back at the last year and say, am I learning? Am I having impact? Am I having fun? And am I fairly rewarded? And when you look back, those are very telling questions. Gives you kind of a balanced scorecard of how things are going. And at different stages of your life, you can almost set a weighting factor on each of those 4 things. And especially early on, if you're not learning, you've got to fix it or leave that place. You have to get lots going early on. Am I having impact means, do you feel like you make a difference to your team, to your company, maybe to society at large? Am I having fun? We spend more time at work than with our spouses and partners and sleeping. Better be fun. Do you feel energy going in, or do you feel dread going into work? Give yourself a score out of 10 on how that works out. And am I fairly rewarded? I just encourage people, it's not base pay. It's base pay and. How much flexibility do you get? Can you work remotely? Do you get personal time off? Vacation policy? Family care? Dental benefits? Long-term wealth accumulation? You get it. Look at the full picture. And is it competitive? So there's a lot of stuff going on at stage 1. Very quickly on stage 2. The big idea is to reach high, find your peak,
and it's to build around your sweet spot. And finding your sweet spot is not as obvious as some people think. Here's the worst career advice ever. What do you think it is? What's the worst career advice ever? Why is that so bad? I mean, a lot of people say this. Just do what you love. You know what I love to do? I love to play harmonica and watch hockey. And for those of you who've heard me play harmonica, that's not good career advice. That's not good career advice. It is insufficient. We have to do things we love. It is insufficient. Here's your true career sweet spot. It's the intersection of three things. What are you actually good at? What do you love to do? And what does the world value? The world doesn't value hockey watching and okay harmonica playing enough for me to have a sustainable career. It just doesn't. And there are people we know who are musically talented, artistically talented, whatever, and it's sometimes they love it. But are they good enough at it at the highest level? And does the world value it? Because if you don't have those three things together in decent measure, it tends to end up with not happy careers. So you do need to work at, this is why I tell people, I discovered my sweet spot about the age of 42. I'd grown up through the ranks, I'd run Ogilvy in Canada, came here. I started to discover I sort of knew how to do global brand stuff and how to work internationally. I did not get kicked out of offices in humiliation in Japan. I don't speak Mandarin, but I could build some trust with people in China. It just sort of clicked for me. That was what I was supposed to do, and that's what I've done for more than 15 years after that. So sweet spot, you do not walk off campus. You do not find it in your first 3 years or 5. You tend to find it well into your career. And you sort of need to jiggle around it, and eventually you find it. Here's a great question. What if you started a company with only one employee, and that employee was you? It's a good exercise. Just try it. What business would you be in? What business would you be in if there was only one person in the company, it was you? It's just a good exercise, a good thought exercise. And over time, the answer becomes clearer. And a lot of us at various ages and stages ask ourselves that question. I think it's a very illuminating one. Stage 3, often, in our 50s or 60s, into our 70s. It's a long stage, and it's all about going far. And it's about passing the torch and lighting a new flame. Passing the torch is often going from an operational kind of getting things done role into an advisory role. It's a great way to pass the torch. Pass on your wisdom, called active wisdom. It's a great long stage of active wisdom where you can pass things on to the next generation. But also light a new flame for yourself. What do you find purposeful and sustainable and rewarding? I wrote career advice for Barack Obama because his job kind of changed a few days ago. And he went from stage 2 to stage 3 in a day. And so what advice would you give to Barack Obama, regardless of your politics? So my advice was, number 1, don't have a 2-year plan, have a 20-year plan. Why is that? We know what he's going to do for 2 years. He's going to do speaking events, and he's going to write a book. And then he's going to be 57 years old. What's he going to do? And so a lot of what he needs to find is purpose and sustainability and something that is rewarding to him. And I hope he finds something interesting and valuable to the world. Part of stage 3 is every day wake up and ask yourself, how do I stay fresh? And this advice I myself take a lot. I'm running a digital marketing company with lots of 25-year-old geniuses chewing at my legs. And I genuinely need to wake up every day going, how do I stay fresh? What's going on in mobile commerce? What's going on in social customer relationship management, blah, 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 blah. So I work at it, I do my homework, because like so many of us, I need to stay fresh. Don't throw your hands up and say technology's too hard. Don't throw your hands up and say news bugs me. You must stay fresh. People don't want to hear war stories about how it used to be. They want to hear about what you can bring them to help them do their job today. One of the big things around career strategy is how you invest your time, and the notion is that time is the currency of our lives, and only we can decide how to spend it. And conveniently, there's about 100 waking hours in a week. And so you can scribble a little on a napkin. What's your time portfolio look like? What are the things? What's work, family, just chilling, zombie time, teaching and learning, and this last one, which is community. So personal time portfolio, here's me in my 30s, that's what I actually look like. And I was working maybe 60 hours a week, a little tiny bit on teaching and learning, a bit on fitness and community, family and chilling. This was sustainable for me. I could work 100 hours in a week. I couldn't do it forever. I couldn't work 80 all the time. But I found just enough nourishment, vitamins and supplement to energize me by doing stuff. A little bit of work with Goodwill Industries, a little bit of teaching, a little bit. It's interesting. It's not just the work stuff. It's the non-work stuff. This is me now in my 50s, very, very late 50s. I still work about 60 hours a week, but a lot of it I've reinvested traditional work up into teaching and learning. It's very, very gratifying for me, stuff like this, stuff like the book, mentoring and teaching. Every Saturday morning at 8:30, I still go to a genius guitar teacher to try and find where an F sharp major 7th is, and I'm still looking. This is my guitar teacher over here. And a little bit of fitness, and I had a Goodwill Industries board meeting today, which is always incredibly energizing to do a community type thing, and family stuff and chilling. So whatever you are, you need to find your balance, and often for working people, I say, tell me about the work, and then tell me about the non-work. And how does that go? Don't do this. Don't become the burnout. This is a person who used to work for me, outstanding performer. We worked together from when he was 35 to 40, burned out, flamed out at age 40. Because there was not enough non-work stuff to energize him. What are you doing this weekend? Going to do your cycling or photography? Nah, I don't have time. Okay. Did you go see Kelly and Mike? Yeah, I was going to, but I texted them at the last minute. I blew it off. I had to work. You know where this is going. This is a bad place. So don't do this. Look for the non-work things to give you energy. And ask yourself, what do I do when it really sucks? What happens when you get laid off? When you hate your job? When you stall out? Every single working person experiences this. Every single one. It's going to happen. So I just encourage people, stay calm and strategic. You don't have to flail yourself. Stay calm and strategic. It's a long ride. It's a speed bump. Can your current situation change? If you've stalled out or not happy in it, can you change it in a reasonable period of time? And remind yourself what's important to you. I have a couple of suggestions. If you do get off track and you need to readjust your career trajectory, there's a couple of things. Number one is to reframe your experience. Don't just talk about the past. I did this, I did this. Say, here's what I know that I can do into the future. Great guy who was doing traditional advertising, and in sort of stage 3, lost his job. What do? Don't talk about the Super Bowl commercials you did in 1994. You know what you can do? You know how to take the average tenure of a client or customer and extend it by several years. Do you think there are any CEOs of digital companies that might like a guy who does that? That's your experience. It's about the future, not about the past. Number 2 is to refresh your skills. If your skills are not relevant going forward, you must fix them. They will not heal themselves. So you may need to go to school. School. which could be online, could be night, could be, freelance assignments, could be pro bono work, could be going to General Assembly, innovative new things could be coming here. Reconnect your career network. Our career networks tend to get stale, and when you're trying to do a new thing, don't rely on your old network, get your new network. Reconnect with people. This is where you work your LinkedIn. This is where you work your industry associations, your community stuff. Get new people into your network. Reboot your self-confidence, because self-confidence is typically low. Talk to people who love you. Talk to people who get you. Talk to those mentors and champions. They'll give you confidence to move forward. One of the final questions, a horrible thought. Would you be replaced by a machine? Between 25 and 46% of all jobs will be, current professional jobs, will be done by machines within 20 years. Will yours be one of them? And if you're at the beginning of your career, looking 45 years ahead, this is a valid concern. You can take everything that is done in the world in simple terms and say there's repeatable tasks and creative or one-off tasks. And in the creative tasks, humans still dominate, and in the repeatable tasks, machines dominate. They are fantastic at calculating and executing. If that's all you're doing, if you're just doing the spreadsheets, that's grave vulnerability. That's grave vulnerability. In our business, we have media buyers who use spreadsheets and do this, and that's all they do. They are in grave danger within a 5-year horizon. It wasn't true 3 years ago, it is true today. So what do? Max out your human skills. I spent time at the Watson Research Lab at IBM. As genius as machines are in artificial intelligence, inventing and judging and building human trust are very, very human and difficult to replicate. So I encourage people, whatever you're doing in your career development, inside activities, outside, make sure that you build your skills at inventing and building trust and judging. And there's also some fantastic jobs in the upper left-hand corner. If you can create algorithms or take data insights and tell the machines what to do, I cannot pay you enough money. Not a spreadsheet jockey, an insights person. I cannot pay you enough money. And lower right is creative people who fully work with machines and use machines for inspiration and enablement. The corners are fantastic places. So I'm going to end with the formula for happiness. This is an actual formula. 50% is genetics. This is from the work of Sonia Lyubomirsky, who's been studying this for about 25 years. It's like a set point. It's like our metabolism. Some people walk around the block and lose 5 pounds, like totally, irritating, and other people, work at the gym for 4 hours and have one snack and it's, going to show up. 50% of our happiness is genetic. Anybody have a sibling that is dramatically different from them when they wake up in the morning, whether they're happy or sad? It's true, genetic set point. However, circumstances also play a role, a surprisingly small role in our happiness. Think of your richest friends for a moment, and then your poorest friends. Are your richest friends always happier than your poorest friends? Nope, not mine. Probably not yours. It's a surprisingly small factor. The big factor is intentional action. Our belief that we can control our destiny, control our environment. And this is the principal thought, is take your career anxiety, at whatever age or stage you're at, think strategically and turn your anxiety into action. Do some career math to get in the right frame of mind. Take full inventory of your fuel. Ask yourself the 4 golden questions. Am I learning? Am I having impact? Am I having fun? Am I fairly rewarded? Do a personal time portfolio. Are the things you're investing in making you more successful and more happy? Max out your human skills so you're not replaced by a machine. And most of all, take personal accountability Your boss will not be there for your whole ride. HR is not going to fix your career. That headhunter who bought you a martini will not be there for your full career. It's you and only you. And the one final word for all of us, and certainly for me, is in our work lives and our lives in general, is the immense happiness power of gratitude. So I'm thankful for every job I've ever had, every person who has invested their energies and talents in working, and thank you for coming. So, any questions?
Yeah, hi. Rock musician, CEO, hockey player, author now, incredible father, husband. My question is, how do you find time to maintain those good looks? No, I'm joking because you don't have good looks, but one of the biggest impediments I hear, and I'm talking about the voice in my head, and also in people I talk to about whether getting started or making a change or doing something different or taking the risk, and this is people my age and this is middle schoolers, is, yep, it's too late to do that. I should have done that, and, the middle schooler says, I can't do football because, I didn't play last year. And a guy like me is saying, well, I'm too old to learn new tricks and no one's going to look at me, in that field. I mean, I don't know if you have any insights into that, but I'd love to hear that.
So it's a great question. When is it too late, or when is it time enough for us to make changes and to pursue new pathways? And I think when you put it in the context of this 40 or 50-year career, you go, I'm not there yet. There's usually a lot of miles left on the clock. And I know people in this room have made very, very significant changes in their 50s and 60s into new and interesting and very, very rewarding things. And people who at different stages have stepped sideways or stepped backwards in order to create a new pathway. And so it's a simple answer to say it's never too late. I do encourage people to start, the key is still fuel. So you need to think of what kind of fuel it will take to get you onto a new pathway. But I literally do not believe it is ever too late. I'm hoping in my own life to have 2 or 3 different kinds of chapters before I hang it all up, and willing to try some quite different things. And people in this room have gone from a corporate world into an entrepreneurial world, and from a profit world into a not-for-profit world. And I think these are fantastic things that can happen at any stage. So I'd really encourage people, stay open and keep discovering. The fuel of the discovery should be lifelong. It doesn't finish when you're 28. So, thank you. Any other questions? Question here, yeah.
What would your one-man business be?
A marketing advisory with a talent bent. So, it was very interesting over the last, year and a half. I'm not a writer, I'm not an author, by training. Most of the things I've written in my life are 12 words or less, so it's pretty daunting to commit to a 60,000 word manuscript. So I think in my own one-person business, it would be a marketing advisory with a strong people component to it. And again, I got most of the way there in my 40s. I've been doing a lot of stuff around that, and the talent piece, the career and talent and mentoring has come very, very strongly in the last 18 to 24 months. And it's been really a tremendous learning experience for me, and very, very gratifying in the last chapter here. So, another question down here?
In your presentation, you emphasized human skills.
Yes.
You emphasized the transportable skills. skills. And these are the marks of a solid liberal arts education.
Yes.
My question to you is that why is it that in the recent years, the liberal arts has lost its significance,
Yeah.
its value?
So the point is, if these human skills are so, and transportable skills are so important, why, in many people's view, has the value of a liberal arts education seemed to be declining? I don't see that in my own business in the sense that I truly value and hire, but often the best ones are married with highly relevant hard skills. So someone who has a liberal arts education and supplements it or complements it with hard skills in user experience design, computer coding, these are, data and analytics. I think a lot of it has to do with the value of the both-and equation and a balanced thing. A pure liberal arts education, some fantastic critical learning, writing, communicating, but if people can marry it with a second skill set, or maybe they're great at the mathematical side of things, but have the ability to lead people, those are the ones we can't hire too many of. So I think you need to think of both the hard skills and the soft skills, but I am genuinely a huge fan. Emotional intelligence, persuasive communication, critical thinking, which are the hallmarks of a strong liberal arts education. That's not the only way to get those skills, but it's a good way to build that base. It's usually often not sufficient. It needs to be supplemented with some hard skills as well. And that's a killer combination. Hard skills, human skills is very powerful. Great. Another question. Hi.
Where do some of the more hardwired personality traits fit into your some of your advice categories? It seems to me that a lot of the wonderful advice might be easier for an extrovert than an introvert.
Yeah. So it's a great question, and you may be aware of a tremendous book by Susan Cain called The Quiet Revolution, which is the incredible leadership power of introverted people. Because the world has been traditionally dominated by, literally dominated, they take up all the airwaves, all the time in meetings, by people who are extroverts. And there's this hidden power of introverts. And I think the world is waking up to it partly through the work of this quiet revolution, which is shut up for a minute and listen to the potentially wise people who haven't spoken yet. And I think it's almost, when we talk about diversity and inclusion in our company, we talk really diversity and inclusion. We talk about introverts and extroverts. We talk about young people and old people. We talk about people at headquarters and in Bangalore. And so I think more enlightened leaders are giving voice or giving ears, is more the point, to these voices. So I encourage people who are, have great skills but are introverted, push some of your communication skills to the max, and then find places that value your different style of leading. And it's not just all about blowhards and people who dominate the conference calls. Some companies listen. There's a funny app called 5 Dudes Talking. You go into a conference room, you hit the app, and every time a man talks, you hit the app. And when 5 men in a row talk, it buzzes. And it reminds people, in many environments, it can be 5 dudes or 5 extroverts talking, which is there is leadership value that is not always expressed as effervescently. And I think sometimes, max it out and then find environments where people get it and value it and have the ears to listen for it. And not every organization, company, firm does it. I think companies are different on that dimension. Any other questions here? Question?
Did you have a goal in mind when you began your career, and what were the steps to where you are?
Yeah. So I didn't have a concrete goal in my career. I had some sort of interim scribbles to myself along the way. I once wrote down I wanted to be the most effective marketer in Canada when I was 35 years old. I sort of scribbled that on a piece of paper. I'm not sure I ever was that, but I was sort of buzzing around that. And then, as I said, 7 years later, I discovered the global stage. And I never wrote down what I wanted to be, but I sort of grew into it. So I don't have fixed big goals like that, but I'm very conscious of how my own sweet spot, if you will, is shaping up. And a very good question here. Today, if I were to start a company, what would that be? And 2 years ago, this talent piece would not have been in it. And so that's emerged into how I see my career ambition, if you will. But I've used lots of little chapters with little, I wonder if I would like to do something more in sales. When my family and I first came here, this was a 2-year hypothesis. I wonder if I can make it in New York. Because many had died on the pathway from Toronto to Montreal. The world is littered with dead Canadians. And so we took on our 2-year assignment in 1997. So far, so good. So, question here.
As a CEO, what do you do with managers who are bad bosses?
We try to fire them. There's an actual exercise we did today in our company, plotting the future and the leadership future. And one of the 6 criteria we evaluate, we literally sort of did this eBay exercise. We had 8 big jobs in a new structure of our company. And we put all the people, 125 candidates, and we rated them. And one of the things was talent magnet. And are you a talent magnet, meaning can you attract, develop, and grow, and sometimes emancipate into the organization talent that is bigger than what you inherited? And we had a couple of people who didn't go into the big 8 boxes for big jobs because they failed on that dimension. So, we're valuing it. It's not the only thing, but it's really important, especially in our business. 59 cents of every dollar goes to staff costs and talent. If we get someone who repels or diminishes or doesn't grow and stagnates talent and drives them out, they are going to kill us. So it's, in our business, it's very, very serious. So, thank you guys so much. The fabulous Gene and Wamras, I believe, are still here. Outside. And Wamras has been a phenomenal supporter of so many things in the community, including my book, for that matter. And if you do have someone who could benefit from this at any age or stage for a Thanksgiving conversation starter or a holiday gift, please see Gene. It would be great if we could remind him that he's an important part of our community as well. So, thank you to Concordia. Yeah.